Good? Good? All right. Well, I'm going to be talking about bridge building today, the overall process of it, and from a civil engineer perspective. I really didn't know anyone in a war, so this may not be as interesting as that, but bear with me. So the person I interviewed is a man from my church. He works in the area designing and working with the overall build of bridges in the area. First, I have some general information. The first bridge up there is a suspension bridge. These can range up to 4,000 feet in span. And that's the Golden Gate Bridge in California, pretty popular. The next type of bridge is the Arch Bridge. This is the Bixby Creek Bridge in California also. And arch bridges can range, can span up to 1,700 feet. And they're the oldest, one of the oldest types of bridges still around. And lastly is the beam bridge on the bottom, max span of 1,000 feet. And it is the most used bridge because it is cheapest and easiest to make. And this is the one that the guy I interviewed mainly works on. So to start off with the process, first two things that kind of work hand in hand is permits and tests. Permit is basically a piece of paper that allows you to build. You need these to even start building. And this step can even take as long as building it. It could take up to 18 months just getting the correct papers together and everything. So also the type of tests, flood levels. If the bridge needs to be underwater, they need to build it with different materials so it doesn't get washed away or anything. Like bridge history, if they're redoing a bridge or something like that, they need to know if they need to widen it if there's too much traffic on it. So the traffic studies, widen it or build a different another bridge so traffic is easier to flow down. So this is like the most basic idea of a bridge. So the first part they build is the footer down at the bottom, and they'll form it, which basically means to mold it, get the right shape and everything. They will add rebar, which for those who don't know what rebar is, it's like a long circular piece of metal to give it its dexterity and stuff like that, and then they will concrete. With rebar, it's actually the rebar that gives it the strength. The concrete just holds the rebar into place. A lot of people think it's the concrete that gives it the strength, but it's not. Most times the footer will be underground, and then they will, after they pour it and everything, they'll put ground over top of it, and that's why you normally don't see it. The second step is the piers, which is pretty much the same steps as the footer, form, rebar, and concrete. Just like the footer. The overall heights of them will fluctuate depending on how high the bridge needs to be, to be level with the road and everything. Finally, step 3 is the bridge deck. This can also, because it's a beam bridge, the beam will be in there, but I couldn't get a picture with that in. So the bridge deck is once again the same form, rebar and concrete, but it's going to be more of a flat surface than like the piers would be probably cylinders. Then next will probably be like the safety features, the guardrail, stuff like that. And then finally the roadway paving, which is what you drive on. Next, a day in the job from the guy I interviewed, civil engineer. He designs all of his projects, but since he's an engineer, he will go and oversee all of his projects he designs and make sure they're going how he planned it. As I said, he oversees all of them. What he does daily is he'll catalog all the materials used, like the amount of concrete used, the amount of rebar used, and then at night then he will write a daily report on the progress that was made and also the amount of materials used. And he'll have to do some audits, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the process of the bridge building, which it's people that come around and make sure he is cataloging all the materials used for the days and making a good report about it. All right, I had a few interesting questions. Who does he work with? I thought he was like the highest guy up, but there's actually a guy above him that will oversee all the projects in the area, and it's like the only guy that's above him. And then below him, you have like the laborers, like the welders, the concrete pours, stuff like that. He'll be below him. Next was how much math was used. I thought since he's an engineer, me being an engineer, I'm already into like math 251, differential equations and stuff. I thought he was going to be using tons of math. But he said the highest, the most difficult math he uses is area, finding length times width times height, which is kind of interesting because how high math courses he goes up to, he doesn't really use any of it. So, another flip of the thought if anyone's an engineer in here. Finally, I don't know how we got on it, but it was pay. Somehow we got on it. But he's a civil engineer. He has a bachelor's degree, 4 years of schooling. And people that work below him, they don't have any schooling. They can just go right into the workforce and start working. And the laborers will actually will make more, which I found very interesting. Because, usually you hear about people in college, going to college will make more. So that was a little different. We're excited, so hopefully you learn a little bit more about bridge building and what it's like to be a civil engineer. Thanks.